Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to one more episode of Forwardpreneurs, where resilience, innovation, and knowledge meet entrepreneurship and leadership. And today, I don't have one, but two special guests for the first time. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to interview Mr. Jayden and Mrs. Taryn. So thank you so much for being here today. And I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself briefly to our audience, and then we go from there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us, Susanna. It's an honor to be with you today. So my name is Taryn van Schalkwyk. I'm South African and an intellectual property lawyer. And I have transitioned into an actress and stage manager for the Improv Teatro.
Amazing. And Jayden?
And my name is Jayden van Schalkwyk. I suppose you would call me a serial entrepreneur from South Africa. I've been involved in starting businesses and running businesses pretty much my whole life. And am in Bahrain, predominantly working in the media and sports space.
Amazing. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And I'm sure already that you guys are coming back to the podcast because there's so many things that we need to discuss about, but we're going to tease them with a part of your story today. And I would like to start with Jayden. How you've been here in Bahrain? What brought you here to Bahrain and how has it been?
So, as I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been starting and running businesses pretty much my whole life. I think if you ask my family, they'll say the first one I started was when I was 9, buying and selling things at school and kind of building from there. And then about 10, 11 years ago, my passion has always been sports. I've always been involved in sports in some way, particularly combat sports, boxing, Muay Thai, anything where people are punching each other. And got into the media space and started a combat sports media company. Started managing athletes, which a friend of mine asked me to manage him as a favor. He said, "You're a businessman, you understand sports, can you start managing me?" And over the years of kind of building that sports and media company, I was then offered a position to come here to Bahrain to work for a company called KHK, which is owned by Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa here in Bahrain, and was the head of global business development for them and also the executive director in charge of Africa, anything to do with African operations.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And you put everything together to create your company. You united all your passion and the vision that you have. But I would like you to tell me a little bit more about what's the vision and mission that you have behind this business in regards of not just the media part, but also the mixed martial arts that you're so passionate about.
So I think for me, it goes back to the start of my link to combat sports. So my stepfather was a professional boxer. My dad was an amateur boxer. I did boxing. And what I always saw was specifically for African fighters or African athletes that came into combat sports, we've got world champions, previous world champions that can't feed themselves. You know, they haven't been given the opportunity to make the kind of money that people are making in sports, in combat sports. So the opportunities aren't there, number one, and number two, the money is not there, particularly in Africa. What people don't understand is it's not like Europe. You can't just get on a train and go from one country to another. To travel from one country to another in Africa, sometimes you have to leave Africa to come back to Africa, just in terms of traveling. So it's very expensive. It's very difficult for guys to get from one place to the other to have access to the opportunities. So when we founded the company called Scuffle, the vision was always taking Africa to the world and bringing the world to Africa. That was what the vision and the mission of the company was. And particularly then focused on giving opportunities to African athletes that otherwise wouldn't get those opportunities.
Himself, Mr. Roy Jones Jr. Roy, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So I think just give us a bit of the background of how you got into boxing. Where did that journey start for you?
For me, when I was a kid, I watched Muhammad Ali fight Joe Frazier. And then my father was watching the fight. And in watching that fight, I realized that Muhammad Ali wasn't winning the fight with his body as so much as with his mind. I thought he was doing it more with his mind than with his body. So I always felt like if someone taught me how to use my skills, use my hands to punch with, I could do mentally what he was doing. And that really led me to believe that boxing was my home.
And then how did you get into the training itself? Where was the first boxing gym you walked into and actually started that journey?
Never walked to a boxing gym. My father used to box.
Okay.
I didn't know it, but he used to box. So he started training me when I got about 10 years old. Me and a few local neighborhood guys, he started training us and just progressed.
Amazing. I really love how you brought that idea, but also with the vision and the mission really set on place that your main goal is to provide this opportunity and this, how would I describe it? Not just an opportunity, but this new way of life to these people that are putting so much effort into the sports, and in reality, the same opportunities that we have in one country is not the same that we have in others. So sometimes people think that, okay, all these professionals, boxers or people involved in mixed martial arts have the same opportunity in every place, but in reality, sometimes it's more challenging to showcase your skills and to find yourself that opportunity. So you are really making a huge difference for all these people that are trying to find a better way to grow, not just as a person, but also as a community member, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about creating a community, regardless of which country you are, and you are, I would say, 100% being that bridge that is bringing all this talent, not just to a particular place in Africa, but to the world.
And I think it's what makes the story of an athlete. It's the platform. If they don't have the platform, no one will ever see them. So we started off 10 years ago in trying to build these platforms on a very small scale. We started with amateur MMA. We started bringing up amateur athletes, trying to give them platforms for more. We then saw a gap because there were no international promotions coming to Africa at all back in those days. So we brought Brave to Africa. I think we got 18 athletes international fight contracts over the years that we brought Brave and a couple of other projects into Africa. We've now got guys competing all over the world. The first African champion in Brave's history was one of the athletes that we brought over to Brave.
Amazing.
We've got athletes now going to be competing at PFL Africa. We've got a number of athletes that we've signed to that platform. So it's how do we continue building this bridge? Because you're not only providing something for one athlete, like Nkosi, for example, who became Brave's champion, he can now inspire 10,000 more to go, look at what I was able to do coming from no running water, no electricity, but I've been able to achieve this as a global athlete. It now starts creating a snowball that you can't undo.
Yes, it's like a whole ripple effect that it really has no ending. And when people are able to share their success story, and this is one of the missions that we have here in the podcast, to just be able to listen to others that have gone through that, perhaps maybe not the same situation that you're going through, but going in life in general, because we all face different challenges and we all have different opportunities, but just knowing that people in certain circumstances are able to, let's say, make it or achieve what they want to achieve. And not just that side of the story, but also the people that are facilitating and helping, right? Because it motivates both ways, not just the person that it's benefiting from the help that it's getting, but the person that is helping, because we need both. And I'm so grateful that you are doing all this for your community and for these teams. What is one of the challenges that you have faced the most? Just pick one, because I'm sure
there's lots
that you have overcome.
I think that the biggest challenge Africa faces is, when you speak to people about Africa, Africa is the biggest resource market in the world. Everything is there. Talent is there. Resources are there. Minerals are there. Everything is there. But it's access to opportunities and funding. So same thing when we were trying to put all these things together, bringing Brave to Africa, producing the documentary that we've been producing around Africa. It's access to funding. People want to look at Africa, but they want to look at it from an arm's length. So I think the biggest challenge is getting people to want to get involved and not just wanting to look at what they see. If you look at the UFC, everyone was talking about the 3 African champions in the UFC. They were found in New Zealand, in France, and in America. They weren't found in Africa. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to take this monstrous task of funding and time and everything else to go find the athletes so that people go, wow, we want to get involved. We want to put something in to contribute to this and help you find more people like this. So that's the biggest challenge, is access to funding.
Yes, and for that, as you mentioned, you need to bring all this awareness. That's like the first step, like the grounding of everything that you are working towards the main goal.
And that's been 10, 11 years of us funding it and trying to build this thing, and you know, certain people that have been able to come on board and go, okay, we can see what you're doing, we want to get involved to a point. And that has happened, but it's how do you make that consistent, and how do you consistently provide the opportunities to these guys so you're not finding one, but you reach that critical mass point. So they say when they split the atom for the atom bomb, there's a critical mass where it can't be undone. That's the focus. The focus is to get this to a point where we reach critical mass and it just becomes self-sustaining and carries on running.
Yes. Besides, actually, let's take the opportunity to get people involved, because initiatives like this are not easy, right? So a lot of times people jump in when things are already taken off, and then I'm just here and yes, now I'm part of it. But to bring something to build something from the ground, from zero, from scratch, and not just for 1 year or two. In your case, you've been doing this for over a decade, and it takes really a special people, a special couple to believe in that idea and to stick to the idea regardless of who's helping you, right? Because you are helping people, but who is helping you, right? And I think this is something that we really need to bring awareness to, that when there's new initiative, don't wait until everything is done. Like, go in from the beginning without expecting, okay, you know, the results are going to be tomorrow. Like, we're talking about changing lives and for the better. And as you mentioned, all these professionals, they were found already, let's say, famous in different countries, but how to break that path to not wait until they are somewhere else, but to find them where they are and to give them the opportunity that they need to develop the skills and to showcase, because there's talent there, there's just not visible.
Yes, and also, I mean, Africa is such a low starting point to entry. One of the athletes that fought on our show was living in Kenya. He was supporting himself, his wife, and his child on $2 a day.
Imagine
so
that.
it's such a low entry point to make life-changing changes for some of these athletes. You know, $500, $1,000 is a year or 2 years worth of money for them. It's how do we create a platform where they can now become global superstars and global athletes, which we've now successfully done with 3 or 4 of the guys, and we want to continue doing, because that will just be the catalyst to keep it going.
That's an amazing achievement, to being able to see this progress in them from the beginning. I'm sure you feel like a proud dad, proud brother, proud mentor, because from my understanding, you help them throughout the whole journey, not just helping them find contracts and everything, but also to make sure to guide them towards the right path that will benefit them the most, because for a lot of them, it's new things that they're facing. And with your experience and your knowledge, not just in the business side, but in life, that's something that they truly benefit from.
And I think it's what's lacking in sport. So if ESPN did some documentaries a few years ago where they looked at the NFL, the NBA, you know, these big sports, and 80% of their athletes were bankrupt in 3 to 5 years.
Imagine that.
And you're talking about earning millions. But the problem is most of the people in the sports space, managers, agents, these kind of people, they only look after them until they don't have a career anymore, and they want them to make as much money as possible in a short amount of time as possible, and then that's the end. Where what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that the guys understand what they need to be able to build for the rest of their life. You know, we want to be able to impact them, their families, the next generation, and not just go, wow, they had a 5-year career and 2 years later they can't buy bread and milk.
It's gone, yeah.
You know, that also doesn't serve the purpose.
It has to be sustainable on their side as well, not just during the whole.
But how do you teach someone that who's never had access to that kind of money? You know, you're talking about, like I said, a kid living in a tin shack, no water, no electricity, in one fight earning $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. You've got footballers earning £100,000 a week. You've got, unless you're educating them that that's not going to last forever and what they have to do to keep that momentum going, where they're going to land up. They're going to land up right back where they were again.
True. So I love it how you thought about all these scenarios and how you find the best way to prepare them for their great success, right? Because as we can see, success is continuous. And even if you get it, if you don't know how to keep it, it might slip out of your way in your life. But I'm so grateful that you have been in their life from throughout all these years to making sure that they succeed. And as we say, there's always somebody that has to be with you from the beginning. And in this case, it has been Taryn. Taryn, thank you for the brief introductions. I know you have a very successful career as a lawyer, but you're also interested in the arts. And we had the opportunity to meet actually through the arts, but I want to give you the opportunity to expand more about the things that you do and the things that you enjoy.
So thank you, Susanna. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, and I had a 17-year career in South Africa in which I was in private practice, and then I was in-house legal counsel, heading up an intellectual property division in one of the largest banks in South Africa. And I enjoy the law. I find it as a very powerful tool to reach people, for a tool for change, for people to do something different. I found as a lawyer, I was a humanitarian first, always connecting with clients on a human basis. Like, what is it that drives them to decisions that they will make for the corporate world, or for their families, or for themselves? I always knew that there was something that was coming my way in terms of my passion, which is acting. So from a young child, I've always enjoyed acting. I always did it as an outlet in school plays, some university things, and then a little bit of television work. And so when I was a lawyer. And when the opportunity came for Jason to come to Bahrain, my innate spirit within told me that the change was coming, in that I was going to go into the season of winter for law and activate the summer for acting.
Amazing.
Now, I didn't know how that was going to happen. We arrived just before COVID came. I arrived in Bahrain with my 2 young sons, and my world changed. It just went from a very different lifestyle of a legal focused, very heavy working lifestyle, into an apartment with 2 young boys with COVID, with no help, and having to find my outlet for this change, the sudden change that came. But at all times, I knew it was the change that was needed. So I started to not miss being a lawyer as much. And I started to honestly engage my inner child by dancing with the kids, and by trying to make joyful moments out of what was quite a difficult situation in the world. And therein, I found what I wanted to do, which was to pursue acting. And I just put it out there. I said, right, universe, God, present it to me. And I got the opportunity to go to the Improv Teatro and to start with improv acting. And from there, the journey has taken off. In that, after a 2-year period, I'm now stage managing and troupe managing and acting in the theatre, founded by Ahmed Khalifa. And I'm now training in workshops, one of which you attended.
Yes.
And what am I doing in these workshops? I am displaying what it's like to be joyful. And I'm trying to remind people to go back to that joyful state, to engage the inner child, and to find out what drives them, what motivates them, and are they still happy in what they're doing in their everyday lives? Just through basic exercises that we do in the workshops. And I found that as a human being, it's something that you can have, which is you can have it all. You can have the full-on career and what's expected of you as you progress from a child to an adult, and have something that is stable and is something that ticks the boxes. And you can have the other side of it, which is a little bit more risky, which is to do something that you love. Because people struggle to find what they're passionate about. And I have found that through acting, I found that I'm passionate about helping people discover what they are passionate about and make life-altering decisions that they may not even be aware of when they're coming to our workshops. But as the workshops progress, they start to find out things about themselves of, oh, I thought I was brave enough to get onto the stage and act. Or actually, I didn't realize that I was quite angry about a situation at work. And we start to see life stories rising. People start making different decisions in their lives through the stories that they tell in our workshops and through acting.
Amazing. Thank you for that introduction. And I love it how you combine both of your passions, but yet from the beginning you knew you were a humanitarian and you're still able to apply that to both careers, both interests. I know in your life you also practice Ubuntu, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. How does that help you in regards of your family and your career and living life the way you do?
So Ubuntu is a South African term. It's for together. It's a spirit. It's the spirit of Ubuntu that we carry in South Africa, which means that there is no I without we. So we need to act together in order from a community and from an enlightenment perspective, make changes. And it becomes like a community feel that you can sense within South Africans in South Africa, who then carry that spirit wherever they go in the world. Now, for us as a couple, we have the spirit of Ubuntu first and foremost within ourselves and as a couple, and we dispatch that into how we parent our kids, to carry the spirit of togetherness, to carry the spirit of kindness, to carry the spirit of making sure that you are looking out for not just yourself, but those around you. So Ubuntu for us starts at home. And wherever our home is, we will always have the spirit of Ubuntu.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Taryn said. It's the group is greater than the individual. So depending on how big that group gets, whether it's the home with the smaller group or the group of family that we have in terms of our family, the athletes that we have, their family, the group gets bigger or smaller,
it's
depending.
Like a big we.
Correct, but it's everything we do is for the greater good of the group, so that again everyone can benefit and everyone can grow out of that.
That's an excellent example for your kids to witness, and not just by theory, right? Because we can hear, okay, this is what it means. But in your case, you're both doing it individually and also together, and your kids are very fortunate to have such a beautiful parents with such amazing heart raising them, and I'm sure they will follow your path. Taryn, as an IP lawyer with a master's and with the changes through technology, how do you see intellectual property being protected in the future?
Well, I think that the structures as we know it in the world are changing so fast and so rapidly with the introduction and the emancipation of technology that we cannot expect for the old structures of intellectual property protection to be the same. What can we do? As IP lawyers, what we will encourage our IP creators is to collaborate and to create strategies, to understand what do they want to do with what they are creating and for what timeline do they want to use the IP. Now we're seeing open source and a whole lot of sharing platforms, and so I would encourage people, creators, to never steer away from the spirit within them, but to always know what the purpose is of what they are creating and look for opportunities to collaborate with companies or other individuals that are aligned or on the same basis or premise of what they are trying to achieve. The intellectual property laws worldwide have not been updated enough to keep up with what's happening. And so there's a responsibility on society to make sure that they do carry the spirit of Ubuntu in sharing and being a we instead of an I, in getting products and services delivered to people in a way that is meaningful and in a way that inspires others to create more. Because intellectual property at its very base is based on people being inspired through what they have seen. And that's how we evolve. And so I would just encourage people to collaborate more and not to be too closed and hold on to what they have because of fear factors.
Amazing advice. I'm sure that the public is going to take your words into account and do not fear, right? Amazing. Jason, I know you are a serial entrepreneur and you have the grit and the grind that is needed. I want you to share with us what lessons would you tell somebody that is looking to create a business but with a purpose? Because you have shared with us the mission and the vision that you have behind your business. So for somebody that is entering in the field of a business but with a purpose, with a mission, what is some things that you can share with them?
I think it's one is find out what you're passionate about. What is your real passion? And you'll know, because it's something that you want to get up for in the morning. It's the things where you will get up, you'll be happy to do this. It's something that inspires you and you get that feeling that you're making a change, but also understand that might shift, not completely, but it could adapt itself. So initially when I got into doing a lot of this, it was trying to find talent that was untapped and opening opportunities to them. That then developed further into a passion for storytelling, because I tell people all the time, sports is about passion, sports is about romanticism, but that only comes from the story. The story of where they come from, the story of what they've gone through, the story of what they've achieved. That's what creates that romantic feeling around sport and passion around sport. So that what has become the bigger focus for me now, is being able to tell the stories of these people to inspire other people. But it's still the foundation of it is going in and finding talent other people would not find. So we once did something where someone said to me, find your vision or your mission for yourself, not for your business, which is something I recommend everyone to do. And mine was to inspire greatness in the forgotten. And I think the forgotten can be anyone from people that have been cast aside by society, people that are forgotten by society, or people that have even forgotten their own passions and their own talents. All of those are the forgotten. So if you can try and create the platform again for those people to be inspired and to awaken and get to a point where they can show the world the talents, the skills, the abilities that they have, that's what I'm striving for. And when someone else finds what that thing is, that's what they'll then eventually get to. I think the lesson though, and what people are missing, and it's almost the part of entrepreneurship people won't tell, especially on podcasts or on anything else, is the company logo. Our company logo is a yin yang. It's a black and white, and everything has the black and white. So there's great stories, but there's also very dark stories. There's great moments in entrepreneurship, but there's also dark moments in entrepreneurship. You go through the biggest roller coaster in life. One day it's the highs of I've achieved something, I've created something, and then no one wants to see it. No one wants to invest in it. So you're in the lows of it. I think the part of entrepreneurship people don't talk about, and you won't see on #entrepreneur on Instagram or anywhere else, is the dark moments of Instagram, the depression, the stress, am I doing this right? Have I done the right thing? Should I still be doing this? Those are the moments that we should be talking about, so people know that it's not just Rolls Royces
Rainbows.
and champagne. That's the parts you've got to fight through. And if you can find other entrepreneurs that aren't scared of speaking about the dark side of it, the bad days, the depressions, the fights, speaking to your partner and going, am I still doing this? Should I still be doing this? Is any of this even worth it anymore? Because those are the moments that you're going to face more often than you're going to face the moments of people celebrating.
Exactly. And thank you for being so honest in sharing these up and downs that as entrepreneurs and sometimes life in general take us to. It's like a roller coaster. And basically, a lot of times we have to be our own cheerleaders, right? And be fully aware and self-aware of the clarity that we have towards our mission and our goal, because as you mentioned, at the end of the day, that's what keeps you and motivates you to keep going. Not the people cheering you up or not the people validating what you do, but at the end of the day, it's us that motivate ourselves, but always having that vision. And once you have that vision clear, there's nothing that can stop you for the most part. I mean, obviously things happen in life, but I think, as you mentioned, having that self-assessment and knowing exactly what you're going for, I think helps really in this journey.
And I think people are always afraid to talk about their losses. They don't want to talk about the failure. They don't want to talk about the loss. They don't want to talk about the hard time. Everyone wants to do the gram life.
Right.
Look, I'm on the Rolls Royce and the champagne and the parties. That's not the reality. But when you're going through those moments at the same time, no, you're not alone. The most successful entrepreneurs have had the worst moments. We all have them all the time. So if you're living a life that doesn't look like someone's Instagram video, it's okay. Figure out how to get past it, figure out how to get over it. Know that you're not alone in that. There are other people that are facing the exact same thing. They're just too scared to speak about it or too proud to speak about it. But know that is what entrepreneurship is. It's not just the happy moments. It's the grind, it's the depression, it's all of those things that you have to overcome. But again, what makes it romantic is the story. You only have a story if you've gone through those things. If you don't have a story if on day one you were successful and everything's been great, that's not a story. The story is the suffering, the failure, the losses,
True.
and then making it to actually being something.
It's a whole package. Yes, Taryn, it's
I
a whole
heard a
package.
wonderful quote the other day that said, the greatest teachers learn the hardest lessons. And I don't think that there could be another quote that sums up the journey that I've witnessed, what Jason's been through as an entrepreneur. It's premised on heart, it's premised on a vision, it's premised on focus. But what has come his way certainly could lead to the darker days. There's no doubt about it. And what I find in the acting is celebrating failure, is becoming familiar and becoming comfortable with failure. Because as a kid, when you fail, you are told by your parents you did something wrong. But as a kid, you'll carry on and you'll get up and you'll try again. And so we introduced it in our workshops, the sense of enjoy failure and celebrate it and become childlike about it. But I see it in my day-to-day. So I celebrate failure, and when I feel I'm not doing something that I should probably be doing more with my kids, for example, or I spill something, I'll do a little failure dance. And I think that if you can just put circles around that, it becomes a bigger theme and a bigger theme and a bigger theme. And it's not about how hard you're hit, it's about if you get up. And entrepreneurship, from what I can see and view, it's exactly that.
It is, and that's an important skill that you teach us, and anyone that is interested in developing their skills, attend please one of the workshops that it's facilitated by Taryn. I really can see how you bring everything together, right? Because in life, we have to celebrate, we have to own it, whether it's success, as you mentioned as well, or whether it's what so-called failures, but in a way, it's what prepares us to be ready for the success that we are working towards. So all that combined, it really makes us like a very grounded person, achiever, and everything. I love it how you guys are able to combine your talents, your perspective. I know you are not one single person, you are two, but you make it work as if we're like one combined power. So I'm gonna call you the power couple. And I have prepared some questions for you. And this time I'm going to read it, okay? So let's see. How do you complement each other in practice? Who wants to go first?
Go for it.
How do you believe you complement each other?
By celebrating each other's differences. Because as many differences as we have in terms of the high level differences of what we like to eat or what we like to do as recreational things, what we have in common are our values. But we complement each other's differences. And I celebrate Jason's differences to mine because that's where I lean in and learn from him. And the basis of our relationship, which I hope you agree with, is more than love, what's important is respect. Jason has the utmost respect for what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm doing in my everyday acting or legal profession. He knows what I want to do in the world, and he's going to move heaven and earth, which he does, to make sure I get there, because he respects my vision, which means he respects me, which means he loves me. And I believe I do the same for him. So we hold space for each other in a way that I think complements our relationship and ourselves as individuals and then together as a couple.
Amazing. So you have that clear. You have the individualism in each, but also as a couple and respecting each other's vision. Because as humans, we all have different visions, but when you find somebody that complements you, then they only can guide you towards greatness. How about you, Jason?
One thing people need to understand is different is not wrong. It's different. So I've got a way I look at things. I've got a way I react to things. And most of the time, Taryn's is the exact opposite of that in terms of reactions and the things she does. But I think what it's done is it's taught us understanding on the things that we don't do. So if I'm interested in certain things and Taryn's interested in the opposite, it's about finding her appreciation of it, even if I don't appreciate it.
Okay.
And I think that's what's lacking in a lot of things is we don't take the moments to understand why someone is different or why they want to do different things. You don't have to agree to it. You don't have to like it. But once you see that joy, love, and appreciation for something, it's infectious. Like I want that, even if it's for something else. So as Taryn said, it's creating the space so that I can see her find that in other things. And I think that's the big thing that we allow with each other. You know, Taryn doesn't enjoy fighting, or she didn't before, but in watching me enjoy it and express a love for it, she's found an appreciation for it, even if it's not a love for it.
Amazing. So the acceptance is there, and as you said, you don't really have to like exactly what your partner does, but being open and getting in, like, you know, that sense of, okay, you know, she's enjoying it, I find enjoyment in her enjoyment, and vice versa, and finding that loop. Okay, what else can I enjoy from there? Like in your case, Taryn, She was not a big fan of fighting, but she sees the vision that is mostly what you really love out of it. And that's where her humanitarian side kicks in, and she's like, I love it too.
I love it too. I love it too, because it's the stories of the fighters. And if it wasn't for Jason's passion for it, I wouldn't have got to appreciate and understand just what goes into making a fighter, what sacrifices they make, how to assist them in their journey, and how we are assisted through assisting them. It's the same in acting. Every workshop that I give, I always get something from. Just as every fighter that Jason manages, he always gets something from. So it's always this interplay, this dance between helping someone who you think you are helping, but always being open to knowing that they're going to give you something back.
Amazing. And with all this greatness that you are doing in helping all these sportsmen, I know you're also involved in that. Some of the things I think you mentioned, it's that you also help with the contracts that these people get. So how does it feel to be part of such a beautiful mission, not just behind the scenes, but actually on the ground? You're also an MMA fighter.
Yes. Fighting every day. We're fighting in the cage. It feels good. It feels good because I understand what the vision is, and I know what the vision is, and I believe in the vision. And because I have a relationship now with the fighters that we're trying to assist, it becomes even brighter for me. It becomes a colorful journey in being involved in the initiative. So it's negotiating, but with very true heart, which is dissimilar to what a corporate job is. There's true heart in what we are doing, because we are also achieving for our kids through what we are building through the business. So yes.
Yes, you're definitely building a legacy for your kids. Can you adopt me?
Yes. I want to be adopted by you for a little bit too.
We adopt each other, yes.
Exactly.
This is such an amazing mission that you guys have both got together and be able to spread it all over. I wanted to have a little fun with you both, so I'm going to give you some fire-up questions, and you both answer with a single word. Okay?
At the same time.
How we do it?
Taryn can go first.
Taryn goes first. Okay.
She's the improv actress.
1-1. Okay. So let me start with Taryn. What word that describes your journey so far?
Enlightened.
How about you, Jason?
Challenging.
Challenging. Amazing.
Opposite.
Okay. Opposite. Now I'll start with Jason. Biggest lesson from parenting?
Love.
Taryn?
Joy.
Joy. Very nice. Your favorite share ritual?
Breakfast in the morning with just the two of us.
Lovely.
Yeah, so it's those moments where we find a gap to be alone, whatever they are, breakfasts, watching something at night. There aren't many of them, so it's definitely the moments.
I mean, after a 20-year relationship, we still celebrate the moments in the day where it's just the two of us, and we crave seeking each other out in the day just to have our own time.
That moment. Yeah. Amazing. I know once you have kids, you really have to look for that time with a song as a background, just the two of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely. And what is your go-to phrase when things get tough? Jason?
Just keep swinging. You know, it's something we say in fighting. You know, the company is scuffle, which is a fight, which I think is life. Life is it's a fight. You're always getting attacked from somewhere or hit from somewhere.
One way or the other.
And it's just get up and keep swinging. You know, as long as you're able to keep getting up and keep swinging, it's. I tell Taryn often, if you stay around the pool long enough, you'll get wet. So and that's it. Just keep going on with it.
Perfect. Amazing advice. And Taryn?
Faith over fear.
Faith over fear. That's a very strong one. Yes.
It's about just connecting to God, and your spiritual path will always be enhanced and enlightened. But in the darker moments, it's about really focusing on the faith and making sure that the fear doesn't overtake.
Lovely. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your story. I want to give you the opportunity to share anything else that you would like our audience to know and benefit from, any advice or anything about your career, anything that you want to share.
I think that, recently in doing a bit of a reconciliation about life and what brought us to Bahrain and our kids and our plans and so is, when you open up a puzzle box, you become a puzzle maker. And in our journey, I believe that we are puzzle makers together. But what makes us, what I believe, quite stand out is that we are puzzle solvers. So we are trying to find the pieces to certain things together, certain challenges. We have different ways of approaching it, but in approaching it, we always have love and respect and trust of each other. And no matter what, in the end game and everything, there'll always be the two of us with our two kids. So, yeah.
Thank you, Taryn. Thank you for sharing those amazing words. And Jason, any final advice, stories, anything that you would like to share?
I think it's in fighting we've got a lot of expressions when it comes to combat sports and these things, and one of them is adapt or die. So you have to always be able to adapt and change, and when a situation changes, be able to change and adapt to it. Mike Tyson said everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Life is the same. You'll have a plan until it goes wrong, and then the plan has to change and it has to adapt. But I think it's find the love in something, that real love for something, whether it's people, whether it's places, whether it's projects, whether it's whatever you're working on. Try and find the love of something and don't lose that. In all the dark moments and all the things going wrong, don't lose the love that you have for people, places, things that you're working on, projects, because when everything else fades, that's the thing you'll remember, 5-10 years down the line, and create the circles. Circle is my family, then it's my athletes, then it's the things we do. Find those circles where people are like-minded, think the same, and ignite something in you. And that's the best advice I can pretty much give for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Taryn. I really want to express my gratitude for taking the time to come here and share your knowledge, your story, because I believe like the world needs to hear from people like you that have such a kind heart, such a clear goal and vision, not to just do good for them and their families, but also to the world. And I'm really fortunate to have met you here. It was through Taryn, and then I got to meet Jason, but the experience has been more than amazing, and I'm truly grateful with all the nice people that I have met here in Bahrain, such as yourself.
Thank you, Suzanne, and for what you're doing. I mean, just this platform and this podcast. It gets messaging out there. It gets our messaging to the community at large. And whoever needs to hear it will hear it. It's the one thing I've realized. It's not about masses. It's not about globally. It's about if what we can say affects one person, the job's done. And you provided the platform. So thank you for your vision and what you are doing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Like we said, same thing we're doing for Africa, you're doing for people as well, creating a platform for them to tell a story and say something. And as Taryn says, it could be one person that's watching that you make an impact, and that creates the same snowball effect of impacting more and more people. So you never know what starts, that catalyst and big thing. And it's something as simple as creating a platform for someone to see. So thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. So keep swinging, keep laughing, celebrate your failures, and keep blooming. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.